Yeah, they can just stop on this one.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the St. Martin Parish Council Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 16, 12:25 at 4:25 in the Council Committee meeting room of St. Martin Parish Government Annex Building. Please silence all cell phones and remove all hashtags. The public may comment upon any item which requires a vote by the St. Martin Parish Council. We ask that you fill out a request to speak form located in the back of the room. Once completed, you bring it to the sheriff deputy who will give it to me. I would like to call the Public Works Committee. I would like to call Board of Adjustment meeting, going with a prayer led by we're gonna follow someone. Everybody give me a break. Our prayer led by Council Clerk Michelle Dale.
We, the members of the St. Martin Parish Council, having been chosen to represent the people of the parish, beg of thee, Almighty God, to enlighten our minds so that our work will be just and fair in all things. Give us the courage and strength to fulfill our duties according to the laws of the land, and in so doing, fulfilling also thy holy will on earth and in heaven, through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Hart, will you lead us in the prayer?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council to meet as Board of Adjustment to consider granting an exception to Betty James and Joyce Lenzer to move a single-family mobile home on property zone I-1 light industrial located at 1080 Clover Hill, St. Martinville, District 2.
Okay, before we go too far, we need to do a roll call. Mr. Mello, Ms. Narcisse is excused, and everyone else is present. I need a motion and a second. Ms. Alexis?
I just want to say that this is in, my district, and I've had the chance to meet with Ms. Alamo, with this property, and we don't see any issues with it.
There are no issues. I need a motion and a second to grant the exception. I have a motion by Ms. Jean-Baptiste, second by Mr. Louviere. Call for the vote. Motion passed. This meeting is adjourned. St. Martin Parish Public Works Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 16, 2025 at 4:30 is now called to order.
Item 1, Stuart Wilkie, LSU Ag Center County Agent, to give the St. Martin Parish Cooperative Extension Service Annual Report.
Mr. Stewart?
So on a yearly basis, we will come to the parish government and also the school board meeting and kind of give a report of some things that we have going on with the LSU Ag Center in St. Martin Parish. And tonight, I'd like to start off by just mentioning the people that we have currently working in our office. We haven't had any major changes in the last year. We have myself. I've been with the Ag Center, I think this year's my 31st year working for the Ag Center. And I've worked in St. Martin Parish for about the last 13 years. In our Family and Consumer Sciences department, we have Ms. Deborah that's doing our nutrition and community health work. In 4-H, we have Ms. Ashley East and Ms. Erica Poirier, who you'll hear from shortly, that they're doing our 4-H work in the parish. And then our administrative coordinators, Ms. Leah Bajeron. And we also have our student worker, Ms. Isabel Patin. See if I get this clicker to work here. Okay. So agriculture is big business here in St. Martin Parish. When you look at our parish, it's usually pushing $100 million most years. And this year is probably going to be a big ag year just in terms of the big sugarcane crop that we have. When we look at, when we're going to total up all the numbers, hopefully, we don't have any unexpected freezes or any big problems. We could have a big total because sugarcane is the main driver in this parish, as you would expect. So when you look at all plant crops, account for about $65 million. But of that, about 52 million is sugarcane. And as I said, you know, grinding getting underway now. Things look very promising. It's, you know, you gotta want all the hay in the barn before you pat yourself on the back. It looks good at this point. Still have a good price for sugarcane, so that should really help that number. Soybeans has been a declining thing in our parish. If you look at, you know, really in my tenure here, we've had some low soybean prices, issues with even when prices were high, just trouble harvesting soybeans, just inclement weather, not being able to harvest them. Got a lot of farmers kind of back off on planting them. So that's a crop that is worth about 1 million in our parish last year. And then rice has always been pretty steady. The area that we have planted in rice, our acreage is pretty stable, and it brings about 5 million. And then we have fisheries and wildlife accounting for about 16 million, crawfish, pond raised crawfish about 9 million, and other animal enterprises like horses and cattle about 9 million. We look at our acreage, you know, we're not making any more new land here in St. Martin Parish. If anything, we used to estimate that we had about 100,000 acres of cropland in the parish. And so as soybeans has declined, we've put a little more of that acreage probably back into sugarcane. So around 33,000 acres were planted last year. And as I said, that's been stable, you know, for over a decade now. We really haven't changed our acreage a whole lot. We've seen soybeans decline, and as I said, rice stay pretty stable. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what are some crops that we do have maybe a little more production in than other parishes, even though it's in a lot of cases not necessarily a huge amount of acreage, but okra. If you look at our ag summary that the ag summary puts out each year, we actually grow more okra than any other parish. Now granted, it's not a tremendous amount of acreage, but we don't have any canning factories like we once did in the state. So we're not canning okra, we're not canning a lot of these vegetables. We still have a lot of people growing okra here in the parish, selling cut okra. And then we're second in honey. We have a lot of beehives here in this parish. A lot of beehives are brought here, raised here. So that last year put us in second place. In sugarcane, we're about 7th. We've had a huge expansion of sugarcane acreage, especially to the west and to the north. Point Coupee Parish is now, around New Roads, our #1 parish for growing sugarcane now. And they've taken a lot of land that was in, you know, soybeans, corn, cotton, other crops, and they put it in sugarcane. There are more sugarcane being grown now in the state than ever before in our history of our state. We've never grown this much sugarcane before. And the crop is worth over $1 billion now in the state. So we've seen a big expansion of that. Our mill, fortunately, by expanding, has been able to work with those parishes that they've increased their acreage. I think our mill processes came from about 10 different parishes now. So we do have a lot of processing that goes on as the sugarcane industry is expanding. We're about 8th in crawfish. There's a lot of crawfish, especially when you go, especially in pond-raised crawfish. More of the rice areas of the state, like Acadia and Jeff Davis, have substantially more acreage than we have. Rice, we're about 13th, and as I said, soybeans about 28th. That kind of covers agriculture here in the parish. We'll turn it over to Ms. Erica. She's going to talk to you about some of the 4-H programs we have going on.
Hi, as Mrs. Stewart mentioned, my name is Erica Parish. I am one of the 4-H agents here in the parish. 4-H youth development, we touch on healthy living, science, engineering, and technology, agriculture, citizenship and leadership, volunteer development, and life skills. The show must go on. Our main events that we conduct throughout the year are 4-H Fun Day, which will be the week of Thanksgiving. Our livestock shows that take place in January. Our challenge camp will also take place in November. We have Fall Fest that will take place the last weekend in October. Summer camp, this year we took 50 kids from our parish to summer camp, which is in Camp Grant Walker. Some of you may have gone there. Camp Grant Walker is still there and strong. 4-H University, that's the photo to the bottom right, that we took 21 students there, and 8 of those blue ribbons, and one actually won a trip, to Tennessee. And honors night, we honored 125 kids from the parish. Our workshops and our achievement day, we had 350 participants, strong for that. This year, our focus is, gonna be on pollinators for third grade, which is gonna be ants, bats, bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. But our fourth through 12th grade, we're gonna do tree of life skills. Just everyday, skills that can help them through their daily life. Learning about laundry care, first aid, internet safety, phone etiquette, and dealing with disappointment. Our junior leaders, which is a group outside of the schools, we meet at our 4-H office for 7th through 12th graders. We're gonna be expanding on our financial literacy program. This past year, we did financial literacy with them, and they budgeted a trip to Universal Studios, Florida. We flew 18 kids out of our parish there, and I have a photo coming up. But they, got all the budgeting aspects, they learned, credit and save and debit and those type of things. And we taught them how to invest in themselves. Our service learning focus for this year is going to be environmental awareness. Our project hubs are strong. This past year, we had 99 participants in our shooting sports program. And that program also, one team, BB team went to nationals again. They won for their Mardi Gras outfit. They won a $300 gift card to Academy, so that was split between the participants. And then we also had one participant that went to Nebraska, and Louisiana brought back the big trophy. This is the 5th time in the last 6 years. So Louisiana is doing really good in the shooting sports program. Our livestock program is doing very good as well, and we have 45 exhibitors this past year. Looking forward to bringing in a couple more this year, because there's several families that are inquiring about that as well. So our community service and citizenship, this is where our students, they sold products that they had baked. It was a bake and lemonade stand they did outside of Tractor Supply, and they earned their money to go to Universal Studios, and that's a photo of them there when we had arrived. They learned how to budget their own money while we were there, because they had to pay for their own expenses, you know, their meals while we were on location. But also, through their community service, they do canned good drives and hygiene drives, and give to St. Bernard and St. Francis Pantry, and the St. Teresa Center here in St. Martinville as well. So last year, we had 650 strong. We're still building back from COVID. We're hoping that this year we can reach that 700 mark. That's our goal. But our accent mission is to help the people of Louisiana improve their lives through an educational process which uses research-based knowledge focused on issues and needs. Thank you very much.
We just want to thank y'all for all y'all's support. I know our parish president, Pete Delphin's been a big help to us. And we've had a few little changes at our office that we're working on, but I'm very grateful that we work in a parish where our parish government, our school board is so supportive of our activities. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, Jesse Boudreaux with Cajun Mosquito to discuss mosquito abatement in St. Martin Parish.
Boudreaux?
Give a little prelude, Mr. Boudreaux, been, our vendor has been giving us service for the mosquito program a number of years. We've been able to keep the mosquito population down to a minimum for most years, with major spikes coming due to hurricane seasons and adverse amounts of water being inundated in the state. This year is a highly abnormal year in that we've had no hurricanes, we've had no adverse amounts of rains. However, the state, and in particular our parish, has been inundated with the West Nile virus. As Mr. Jesse will define, basically hotspots. And you'll see that area parishes, adjacent parishes have not had the hotspots that St. Martin Parish has had. The reasoning in this, we don't know. Because basically our topography, our geography, everything is basically the same. However, our parish has been inundated. The good thing is, and as I'm sure Mr. Jesse will elaborate, is that these pools of concentration, this particular species and type of mosquito normally does not range out of more than a mile radius. So therefore, they are self-contained because unless they get onto a host and are driven somewhere else, this self-containment is due to the fact that they don't move a whole lot. However, it's very hard to eradicate the entirety of the mosquitoes during the season. It's just Louisiana is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. That being said, Mr. Jesse, if you want to open and any of the council has questions and so forth.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Parish President Delcom, because he really did make my job a lot easier. He gave me an excellent explanation on what you're doing in 2025. And it has been, over the past 21 years of being contracted to St. Martin Parish government, one of the highest years of mosquito pool totals that we have seen, to the degree of 10 times higher than normal. So what you're looking at the handout that Ms. Joni has given y'all, and she is my biologist and entomologist. She is a resident of Abear Lane, which is in Parks, and I don't know which council member represents that area.
Ms. Narcisse.
Ms. Narcisse. Okay, so that's her constituent. And
Might be Mr. Davis.
yes, sir. Okay. So she's your constituent. She works for me. She does a wonderful job. And she really does dedicate a lot of her time to make sure we go above and beyond what the contract calls for. So her and I got together and had a meeting, and we started notifying the parish president and his administration about the amounts of positives we had in late June. And through the conversation of email, probably 50, I would think, 50 corresponding emails about the absorbent numbers that we're seeing, we had to do what we had to do to control the numbers of mosquitoes that was coming in contact with your football practices, your football games, your parks, where you had any type of gatherings of people that would come in contact with mosquitoes at dusk or dawn. Your joggers, different things like that. So we went ahead and did what we do every year, and that is to send these mosquito pools to be tested by an independent third party. So there's no chance of anybody changing anything. And when we get the results, we send a screenshot to the parish president and the administration, and they let us know that it's approved to go ahead and take care of that particular area or zone. And it could be anybody's zone, but I think from what Ms. Kernan and I have discussed, it started around the Cecilia Henderson area, and it's traveling with the birds. The birds are the hosts that carries West Nile virus. And the mosquitoes and the birds have been feeding on each other. You say it's not raining, and you're kind of wondering why they have mosquitoes that are testing positive. They're congregating in the same stagnant water, and the birds are looking for a drink, the mosquitoes are looking for a blood meal, so they're actually feeding on infected birds, which is propagating the problem that we have. So tonight we come to you above and beyond a normal year, and we hope not to see this type of year and for another 20 years, because, you know, somebody can get really sick, somebody can actually pass based on other parishes and the numbers you have before you. We have 35 human cases that is documented. No deaths at this time, but we'd like to keep it that way in St. Martin Parish. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So
you
your
have.
35 cases, that's statewide cases, that's not the same one parish cases.
Yes, sir. 35.
So, I've been on the council for 10 years, and I know how we run around. We basically don't have a mosquito spray program. Program we have is if we get an infection count or we start getting high numbers, then we take action on it.
Yes, sir.
In the past, we've always done, well, we've never, the only time in the 10 years I've been here that we've never done a total spray of the whole parish was after 2 hurricanes.
Yes, sir.
The rest of the time, what we usually do, we can find those areas that 1 mile radius and we spray, right?
Yes, sir.
In August, we sprayed the whole parish,
We didn't spray the whole parish.
we didn't.
Yes, sir. Maybe late in August, we had Cade that actually did, test positive, so we sprayed Cade, but it was the 5th week of August, and we have not had a positive in Little St. Martin.
So basically, the month of August is double of any previous month in the last, since 2018.
Almost.
Also, so did we do that much spraying like throughout the parish in August?
Yes,
So when we handle it by case, we give it a 1 mile radius?
no, you actually do a zone. It's, whenever you have a disease, West Nile mosquito, you do a zone, and you work from the populated area from where you had the trap, and you spray 3 nights, and then you take a night off and you retest.
And that's what we've been doing in all the previous years too?
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay. Ms. Alexander?
Yes, sir. I have one question for you.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you familiar with LA 94?
LA 94, briefly. Yes,
Is
sir.
that the highway between Woolwich and Lafayette?
Yes, sir. I'm the northwest corner.
Okay. Do you know where Jake DeLong lives at?
No, sir. I do not know what you.
Okay, well, the street right after Jake DeLong's house, I believe it's called Henry Pin Road.
Henry.
A&M. You know what that is?
No, sir, but I could find it.
Okay, if you don't mind. The people out there have been complaining about mosquitoes for maybe 4 years.
Okay.
And there's a swamp behind, what this there's a swamp right behind them. And I was wondering if you can find it, you familiar with it? When's the last time you sprayed that?
Well, whoever's spraying is.
You mind coming to the podium right now? I'm kind of hard to hear.
Yeah, whatever driver's spraying in that zone for that night is, that's zone, I wanna say 8 or 9. But we're just split up into 2 zones, cause it's so big, we can't do it all in one night. So, I'm pretty sure it's zone 9 from what I understand, yeah. So, they should be spraying that road, if it's in St. Martin Parish, we should be spraying that zone, yes.
Okay, when you think you're gonna be going to take care of that area?
We'll receive
Mr.
the
Vince.
reports.
Just to clarify something, we don't have a mosquito spray program where people call and say, we got mosquitoes, we go spray mosquitoes. We only spray if we have an infectious case.
That's the only time?
That's the
Or
only
I just
time.
find out if there's an infection in there.
That's what you
Well,
do.
that's what I'm trying to find
Yeah,
out.
but so they.
When you wanna do that part, so I'd like to know.
Well, it could be possible that, I don't know, but there could be somebody that does not want their property sprayed in that particular area, but we can double check on the state website to see if they listed their address. But, I'll certainly get on it tonight and make sure that Henry is, looked into.
But if you let me know, I know 3 families I can bring you there and person to the house, because they're the one that been complaining.
And there's only 3 homes on
Well, they're the only one complaining to me.
it? Okay.
Mr. Boudreaux, how often do we test?
It's from May 1st through November 3rd.
And it's once a week.
Once a
Once a
week, right.
week, we run 12 light traps.
Right.
That's it, that collects like all different species. We have around 20 different species of mosquitoes in St. Martin Parish. And then, also once a week, we run, it's called a gravid trap. And it's only traps, The only type of mosquito that's attracted to that trap is Aculeus quincke fasciatus. It's a southern house mosquito, and that is the main vector of West Nile virus. So once a week, those traps are put out and they're tested, those samples are sent to LSU, and we get results every Friday from those samples.
Right, so I get people, actually say, listen, the mosquito truck hasn't been spraying, that's great. If you don't have a positive test in the area, now it's been spraying.
Exactly.
So if those people, Mr. Vincent, just like, you know, different information, if they're not seeing a mosquito truck, that's a good thing, that means that we don't have an infectious case in that area. I think there's a misconception because Iberia Parish has a spray program. They spend about $1 million a year, but they do an aerial spray, and they did it through a millage or a tax that they passed, and they have that, we don't have that here. So we only do it in the infectious cases, so if you don't see the mosquito truck in the area, it's kind of a blessing, it's kind of a good thing if you don't see it. And the mosquito count, I mean, we can't control the mosquito count, I mean, we live in a swamp, it just, we live in a high mosquito area, no matter what we do,
Yes, sir. I
it
mean,
just.
every week I'm seeing,
Yeah.
you know, we'll pass with the stuff, and it does, I do see numbers come down. But the following week, if those samples don't test positive, and I go back and I test them again, and they do come back positive, yes, the numbers are up, because that truck hasn't been out there in like 2 weeks.
Right.
So,
Now, let me ask you, on the spray, when y'all spray in there, does that actually kill the mosquitoes, or it just, what does it actually do?
It's a contact killer, so it's very target specific. It doesn't harm beneficial insects. It's strictly for the nervous system of a female mosquito to eliminate any beneficial insect harm.
Right. So basically, when we spray it on the roadside, it covers that area that where it'll drift off into the mist, and if it contacts with a female mosquito, it kills it.
Yes, sir. And then it about an hour later.
so it'll start, within 20 minutes, and people will notice, oh, the truck passed, the mosquitoes are still biting.
Right.
When that chemical hits that mosquito's like, I gotta go right now and get a blood meal, because they wanna lay their eggs, because they know something's going on, something's weird happening in their body. And those mosquitoes will wanna bite, but after about 20, 30 minutes, they'll start knocking them down.
It affects their nervous system, so within the hour, they'll pass and they'll be gone. That's our goal.
Right, so the only way we could eliminate mosquitoes totally in St. Martin Parish is if we had a mosquito spray program where we get aerial spraying. That's another one.
All the time, with a good larvicide.
Good, good larvicide,
Yes.
And, you know, sometime maybe in the future, 21 years ago, I went with the former administration, Mr. Cormier's administration, and we went to Bell River, Volunteer Fire Department. We went to Stevensville Volunteer Fire Department, and we just talked to them about mosquito control. What do you want to do? And they passed a $3 per water meter on their own village, where they have a small pot of money to have truck spray, regular truck spraying twice a week. You know, it could be something that you could say, okay, let's have some town hall meetings, and I'll be more than happy to attend every one of them, make sure that everybody gets all the proper information they need. Nobody wants to see $2 or $3 on their garbage bill or their water bill, but, you know, once you see a family that's been affected with West Nile virus, or you see your kids getting eaten up while they're trying to get on the bus to go to school, you know, some people may want to pass it, you let them decide.
Right, and the reason I had asked you to come tonight was just to kind of clarify to the rest of the council members and people of the public that we don't actually have a mosquito spray program like the neighborhood parish that has, that's a full-blown mosquito. We only spray and we're only accountable for those areas where we have positive tests.
Yes, sir.
You know what, please?
Yeah, I had one question. I know you said that we had a higher count during July and August, but I see in your report that we stayed at a level 3 advisory. So what should we have done, or is there something more that we need to do insofar as educating the public in regards to that? Is there anything as the council members fit to the districts as a whole that we can do to support the community with knowing what happens?
You could definitely just keep reminding your constituents to remain vigilant. Make sure you drain any standing water. Wear an EPA-approved insect repellent. avoid peak activity times when you have mosquitoes out at dusk and dawn. Wear light colored, long sleeve clothing if tolerable to avoid mosquito bites. And always just use common sense. If you can, drain any standing water that's in your yard, even though we're in a drought. There's a lot of yards that may have some flowers that were watered, they have a swimming pool that they left alone, you know, get rid of it, get rid of the stagnant water. And reminders. In May of 25, the Test News actually put out a great article that was reminding everybody to do the necessary things to drain standing water, protect yourself from West Nile virus. We have it on our website, we have it on our social media account. You'll see us in Cecilia trying to, that's where we first had the initial West Nile positive. So we try and share that and let you know that everyone needs to take precautions. But just to let everybody know, we have football season going on. A lot of young men that are practicing every week. We want to make sure the football fields are taken care of and make sure that the games, the home games that you're going to have within the parish are well protected, because if, you know, people are coming in contact with mosquitoes, they may forget their bug spray.
One thing I'd just like to ask, we have levels 1 to 5.
That's it.
We've been on a level 3 for a while, pretty much on average of the level. From a 1 to 5, can you explain the different levels and what
Well, at level 3, you have mosquito pools. That's your initial warning signal. Level 4, you have a human case. Well, then you then notched it up one time to where you have to spray 7 days. You have to enact a additional set of traps that are going to test mosquitoes in that particular person. So say, for example, you have a human case and the Department of Epidemiology calls you from New Orleans. I need to notify the administration. This is where we know that this particular proximity is for this person. It was a 45 to 50-year-old female. She is in with St. Martin Parish, and this is the proximity of the location. So he gives me the authority. We go ahead and make sure that area is taken care of by the contract, stipulated by traps, larvicidal, truck spray. Level 5, we do not want to see. That's multiple cases of humans. So that's why we're trying to stay at level 3 and apply as much pressure as we can on the infected mosquitoes, so we don't go to level 4, or God forbid, level 5.
we've been on a level 3 probably for the past quite a few years, and going back and looking at that, we never went above a level 3 in the past 4 or 5 years. We've been pretty much, I don't know if we've ever gone. One of the hurricanes, I think, went into
In 2003, we did have a human,
Case.
case, so we were at level 4, we've never got to level 5. I've been with Mr. Boudreaux for 16 years, and I'm in St. Martin Parish, and I've never had to go into level 5.
So are we ever required to, I guess, to let the public know if we at a certain level, or only do we have to notify the public, you know, to take precautions and stuff if we get to that level 4, we have a reporting case?
Oh, I mean, anytime you want to let the public know, it's perfectly fine. If they want to do it administratively on the website, that's fine. If y'all want to do something as a legislative body, that's perfectly fine. If you want me to do something, just let me know. But I think everybody that's endemic has been in here since 2002 within St. Martin, so we kind of know and we just kind of prepare for it, like a hurricane season, the West Nile season. So normally, any kind of reminders that you can give to the elderly who are more susceptible to 55 and above, or becoming more ill than just being able to fight it off, is very important.
Yeah, and I guess the question I was asking, because I noticed like the elderly and all, you know, at certain times of the year, if we get to like a level 3, we should be notifying, just to let the public know, maybe through the text news or through our website, that we have a higher risk of mosquitoes, that anybody with a low immune system maybe should be after certain times of that hours in the morning and afternoon, maybe, you know, needs to be inside. And I got quite a few calls around the Blue Rules area, that's in my district. I work outside the business I'm in, and mosquitoes, to be honest with you, hasn't been real bad this year compared to previous years. But around Blue Rules early in the morning, when the kids get on the school buses, I did get some phone calls and stuff, you know, and asking if we spraying everything and all that. And a lot of people, you know, we tell them, spray there, it's highly effective or something. And then I tell them, if you don't see the mosquito truck, it's actually a really good thing, because they get around with kids. Cause I can remember when we had the chicken check stations. I used to tell them, that chicken dollar, you in trouble.
Well, let me just make sure that we're all on the same page. Beautiful Rose has tested positive 2 weeks ago. So we do need to prepare any additional spraying that we can to make sure that those kids are protected.
And those low lying small base areas, like in that area there, we can always have a high abundance of mosquitoes, and then they can be really
It's
big.
just where we're at.
Okay, I appreciate your comment, I just wanted the council and the people of the public to be aware of how mosquito program works, and to let people know that we're not trying to cause a panic or anything, but we do wanna let the public know that, you know, we have a lot of level 3, like precautions you should be taking and what we should be doing and all. And, we got somebody here from the test unit, so he might be able to maybe look back on that story that was written, because I remember that, and maybe we can try to just
Read.
let the public, yeah, just read the people who've been doing it, and where we had a mosquito spray program, and just, you know, caution that you take.
That'd be a great idea.
Ms. Alexander, you have something else?
Yes, sir. Just for the records, I want to correct it. The road is Bergeron Road.
Persian Road.
You're right. If you don't mind, if you'll go there, I'd like to, go, you know, be there also.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind calling, then I'm gonna bring you to the house of the individual that was complaining. But I went there and I could see it for myself.
It was hard.
Available tomorrow if you need to go.
Well, tomorrow in the PM I'll be available.
I'll go reach out there.
Anytime after 12 noon.
That's fine.
But not tomorrow morning, I won't be able to.
No problem.
I sure appreciate that.
More than happy to help.
I appreciate that, sir.
Any other
And if we
questions?
see some breeding, we could always donate some larvicide to make sure the ditch is stagnant. We can get the juveniles down.
Okay, well, that's, it's Bergeron Road, Henry Penn's a little further down.
Yes, sir. We'll be with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Would it be possible for y'all to give us a bunch of these, so that way we can,
Any?
hand out to some of the residents? I figured just a little bit to the council and the city that I have for their district.
And I can come back and bring some. That's no problem.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Item 3, Kimberly Carrata, Operations Manager at Atchafalaya Basin Keeper, to give a presentation on the effects of the sedimentation in the Atchafalaya Basin and the future of South Central Louisiana.
Hello, and thank you for giving me your time, appreciate it. Test out my clicker, all right. Yes, I'm with the Atchafalaya Basin Keeper, and I'd like to thank y'all for your support with our management plan that we did propose to CPRA for the Atchafalaya Basin program. I'll give y'all an update on that in a moment, and also for your support with the Amicus Brief against the East Grand Lake project. We were able to get 5 parishes in support of our management plan, and we have 3 parishes in support of that lawsuit. So we're building a united force on both of those fronts. We appreciate it. I'm here today to speak to the urgency of the need for us to get these get the basin sedimentation issue in the basin handled. And we have this opportunity with the coastal master plan. The Atchafalaya Basin Master Plan program has been submitted, and now we're moving on to the full coastal master plan. So this image that you'll see is the Mississippi River floodplain pre-settlement, essentially. You'll see that it went all the way up to the state of Missouri. To protect the city of New Orleans at this time, levees were built by the French in 1717 that were only 3 feet high, and that protected the city of New Orleans. As many of y'all know today, we have 20-foot levees, and they still can't protect the city of New Orleans without the spillways. This is the image of where the Morganza spillway is. Let's see if I have a laser pointer. So the Morganza spillway protects the city of New Orleans. It's upriver from New Orleans, but it doesn't protect Baton Rouge, all the cities along the Mississippi River, including 150 industrial plants and what we call Port of South Louisiana, which is the 5th largest in the world by tonnage. So the Morganza spillway was designed to protect those areas by using the Atchafalaya River and the Atchafalaya Basin to hold, it's supposed to hold half of the project flood. So that's a huge amount of water, And we know that today, the Morganza spillway cannot move the project flood. So going back to this image, you'll see we built the levees 18 miles apart. That creates a bathtub, a basin that's supposed to have increased holding capacity for those floodwaters. But the basin is filling in with sedimentation from the Mississippi River. And we've lost over half the flood capacity of the Atchafalaya Basin, and it continues to be lost year after year. So we know that that makes all of our communities outside of the basin that much more at risk for Mississippi River floods. This is to show you what has already been filled in. You'll see that the northern part of the basin is, where the Mississippi is diverted up in the northern part of Lincoln City is where the sedimentation begins to fill in. We've had projects there historically that divert that river water into the basins. That is how the sediment is getting into our swamps and bayous and deep lakes. So the southern part in your parish here is, where most of the deep water habitat still remains, but we're at risk of losing that if we don't protect it. On the right-hand side is a LiDAR, which shows you everything in the pale green is what is still essentially water. Everything that's green, red, and up to the white, that is 7, 9, 20 feet above the water. So those are areas that are already filled in, and there's no ability to reclaim those. What Dean really hoped for me to express to y'all was this idea that in 1927, before we had the levee system, this was the area that flooded. And you'll see in 1992, the areas in green are what still have any flood capacity. The yellow and white, that's farmland. That no longer can hold any flood capacity. So we have lost, you'll see the area to the right, up in, I guess that's Arkansas, Missouri, I'm not sure Mississippi, but we've lost many parishes worth of area of floodplain. Now all of that is coming into the Mississippi River. So to carry a flood similar to the levels of 1927, we're gonna have way more water that we need to move through the Morganza spillway of the Mississippi River. We could not handle a 1927 level flooding. So this is zooming into the 1927 flood, and I wanted to show y'all this really close up of how far it came. So you'll see that the Tesh Ridge did protect Bro Ridge and parts of St. Martinville. That would no longer be the case. If the similar flood happened, we would have inundation. You'll see Lafayette was surrounded on the south side. If there was any levee compromise on the western side, we're looking at way more damage than what we had in 1927. So my primary issue here is that we're going to be proposing the state, as I said, we did propose to the Atchafalaya Basin program. I did speak to Mr. Tozan about that committee that y'all are on and been updated. So a couple of segments of our master plan have been kicked back from the state as far as the Atchafalaya Basin management. They are looking at sediment traps, but it's really important what we do with that sediment, because if they're gonna just put it back, into the river, it really needs to get out of the basin completely. And so that is what this meeting will be discussing. We are gonna be proposing moving that sediment to the coast where it's needed. To some extent, that's common knowledge in the state that the sediment in the basin is needed to build up the coast. It's just a matter of how to prove that it's cost effective, how to, make the right choice on how to actually move that sediment. We're proposing a long distance sediment pipeline in our management plan, and we think it's worth the investment. It would be a one-time investment. It would work for decades and decades. And so we need the communities that are most affected by this issue to really speak up and unite. And we wanted to invite you to this community meeting on October 15th. And please tell your communities to show up. We are working on getting other parishes to sign on in support. And we're going to continue. This will be a 4-year process of getting the state to actually write out this next coastal master plan. And so we will just be pushing and uniting and building a public force to really, so that they can't tell us no. But we have Facebook information for that event, And our management plan is on our website, and also information about the East Grand Lake projects, which is designed to fill in the basin and how to stop that. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just, to do a comment, we had a meeting Monday, myself and Mr. Clay, we served on the Chapel Basin Master Plan. Myself and Mr. Julie Mayer served on the Chapel Basin Task Force prior to this administration. And we worked on several projects. I can tell you from when the task force to the committee we have now, it's like we're making a lot of progress. So the settlement trap that they're proposing is in 7 different areas. They're also proposing to look at, we did a project on the Dixie pipeline where we opened up cutting gaps, and it looks like it's very effective. Problem is, we can't get the water coming from the tower because they're bringing it out. So the project, and it did receive funding, is gonna dredge the River Canal out. And the only thing that I objected to is they wanted to put some 30-inch culverts crossing the high power lines. And that's not gonna work, and I explained it to them because, first of all, we gotta be able to maintain them, we have to have who's gonna maintain them. And so when we do the 50-foot gaps every 500 feet, we get a better flow of water and it works better. Realistically, I see Mr. Benson in the back of the room, and I learned a lot following Dan through the basin and everything, I can tell you. The problem we have in the basin is we blocked up our natural bayous. We created work canals. It was proposed to where every 550 gap, 50-foot gap cut to maintain. There was no maintenance done. Companies went bankrupt. They left, they skipped out. We got stuck with them. It silted up. We got an area, the biggest swamp in the basin was Hawaii. It's now probably the biggest land mass in the basin. We got a levee that's 26 foot, we got a 30-foot small bank sitting in the middle of that thing. And it's running directly, west, yeah.
Where the flow should go.
Exactly. So the problem is we got sedimentation built inside there. We either started the bottom or build the bottom up to really get that sediment going. And I argued this on the task force, this is one of my biggest things I've argued. We have an 80-30 split on the water, meaning that 2/3 of the water in the nation comes down the Mississippi River. 80% of the water is diverted through Mississippi, 30% diverted into the Chapel Basin. They spend millions upon millions and millions and millions of dollars on that water. But we don't get 30% of the money. We get a very minimal amount of money. If we could ever get them to match the money to the amount of water that we take, with the 30% we have, we could open up all the gaps, all the small banks, restore the natural bodies, get the water flowing. In the long run, we would be complete, and everything would be done. You would get the habitat would come back, the ecological system would be better. And you would actually let Mother Nature drip that material all the way down to the coast where it needs to be. The reason you didn't get to the coast is because everything's plugged up. But we support what y'all do, and I commend you not banning them with the crawfish, and I can tell you, I've been following guys for a long time, I learned a whole lot from banning them guys there, and, I was able to participate in different communities and stuff, and had a voice on it and all, but I really, really believe, from when we started with Sandra Thompson back in those days to where we are now with CPRA, taking the lead in it, I think we way better off with CPRA. I think we're starting to see some progress. I think the plans that they presented Monday in Secretary can tell you with some pretty good ideas. And I was very favorable to most of those ideas. We're fortunate enough, because Julie sits on it, Mr. Clay sits on it, and I sit on it. And we have neighboring parishes with people that we know well. I can tell you one guy that I think is just filled with knowledge and understanding things, Leroy Blanchard, and Leroy sits on the committee. So we got some good people sitting on there, and they did a good job putting it together. The sand traps, I'm very familiar with what Dean proposed 15 years ago, we proposed those traps. And they would work, and I think they're gonna work. But you're right, we can have all the sand traps we want, we gotta be able to take that settlement and bring it somewhere. A pipeline would be a great idea, the dredging, it needs to get done. And I think we just need to get the rest of the country understanding, because we focus on it down here, but we need to get our congressmen and senators in Washington, make those other congressmen and senators from all the way up to 2/3 of the forest that's coming down here. One day we won't be able to pass the water anymore. When that happens, they're gonna start seeing the effect that we see now.
It's gonna back up the same way that it backs things up.
Yeah, but I wanted to take the time to tell you, I appreciate everything y'all do, along with LCPA and those organizations that fight, and a lot of people don't understand that if those people weren't fighting for commons, we wouldn't have navigable waterways. We wouldn't have access to the waters of America. And I just want to thank y'all for your support on there.
Thank you. Can I ask you, is there any conversation in y'all's meetings about what to do with the sediment from the sediment tracks?
No, they're proposing the settlement trap, but they haven't come up with a solution how to get it. They have ideas, you know how, there's 4 or 5 different ideas that's put out there.
Yeah.
Problem is the funding, like where the money's gonna come from. Depending on how much money comes in, that pretty much tells you where you can go with it. But I really feel good with CPRA on the lead on this thing. I think this is probably the best organization that we've worked with so far in the past 15, 20 years probably, I think, you know. And we can't stop. We gotta keep on. We gotta stick together, make sure that we keep pushing and trying to get this thing done, because if we don't, one day we'll get caught and, you know,
It'll be too late.
it'll be too little too late.
Yeah, so now's the moment. Please spread the word. We'd love to have as many people show up to that meeting as possible.
Ms. Alexander, you have a question?
Yes, I have one question, but if you don't mind,
Of course.
it has nothing to do with the Trapalaya Basin,
Okay.
but I know you have some experience from what I just, heard from you. And the great flood of 1927, my mother told me a lot about that, 'cause she had to get on the roof to survive, you know. And you also mentioned that we might not even have one like that again. You said something about 1992.
The image from, the floodplain here is showing you what, how much we had lost by 1992 of the floodplain.
Okay, do you remember when we had that flood a couple of years back, on 1994?
In 94?
No, I
2016?
said early 94.
Okay,
The Jake Delhomme house was flooded where I think it was maybe 4 feet
okay.
of water. You remember that one?
I think you're talking about 2016.
Well, it came from Vermilion River,
Yes.
it crossed the Vermilion River. It started actually on the corner, Derby Heights subdivision.
Okay.
And it came across the Vermilion River, then it was coming to Road Bridge. It stopped at the track. If the track wouldn't have been there, it was coming to my office too.
Yeah.
My question is, do you think we could put a levee over there to block Vermilion River from coming to St. Martin Parish?
We had one, Mr. Benson, they stole it. We had one, they stole it.
Dr. Parrish?
Well, that's what I forget to.
Yeah.
Well, we need another one then.
As Steve was saying, that's not our watershed.
Right.
Huh?
There, but, I'm from Lafayette, and I do know a little bit about the Vermilion River, and I'm sorry for, like that. Yeah, that's a, there's a, Lafayette Parish has multiple different directions that they get the floods from, and y'all are peripheral to that as well.
Right. Mr. Corey, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious, I mean, it's all very interesting, the measures y'all talking about moving the sediment out, keeping it going, but what do you do about, I guess, the damage that's already done? I mean, I guess is dredging an option, put a pipeline that takes care of the day forward, right? But what do you do about what's been going on the last few years?
As far as I know, there's not a whole lot you can do about when the swamps are filled in. Some of the canals, we can dredge, but dredging is really expensive, and, for the most part, it's about trying to prevent any additional loss. The loss we've already seen is we're gonna live with. We are talking about, for the sediment pipeline, and, excuse me, I can go through some slides here. We're talking about mining the 3 lakes, in the southern part of the basin, and that would actually allow some deepening of those lakes again with some flood capacity. But as far as swamps and bayous, there's not any way to get that
The only way that would ever happen is if the federal government would come and step in and form what they did in the Everglades. Where they went in the Everglades and they did billion-dollar projects, so they went in there and they pretty much removed all the sediment, the silt and everything, and they took it there, that's what they did. But we've never seen a project of that magnitude,
Yeah.
in the Chapala Basin. We've seen some big projects on the coastal part, not on the Chapala Basin.
Yeah, and, if we can make sure that it moves out, as part of it, as we know, Morgan City gets clogged up, and that's one of our 2 main outlets. So making sure that sediment has a way to move out, then in the chances when we do get high water and we are opening that Morganza spillway, if it can't get out, it's gonna settle and fill it all up all at once, but if it can move out, maybe it'll flush some of that out with it.
So one of the projects that they're proposing on the projects would be, it's kind of outside the basin area, but it has a major effect on it. Would be the Sherman Canal with the Jaws, that project, it's usually about ship on that thing, now you read about the jungle down there.
Yeah.
So that's one of the areas that they were concerned. And I think the Wax Lake outlet, they're looking at a project that could help on the Wax Lake to get opening up, to build the path in the water and stuff. So hopefully that will work. And in the Jaws project, Mr. Howard Shelf, I don't know how many of y'all know Mr. Howard, he's just a world of knowledge. And Mr. Howard's been saying this for years and years and years, and I hear it every time we go. You know, if we want to lower the levels of the Vermilion River, we need to build the paths of water to get the water out. So with the jaws all blocked up, a lot of the water has to traverse up toward the north to be able to get out, to go out to those outlets. If we opened up the jaws, it would actually, they figure if you a half inch to inch, that it could actually drop, which is a lot of water when you think about the amount of water that passes to the bottom of the waters. So, and I think it's going to be some of these projects, and I know this year was one of the better years for people that more people participated this year in putting in projects, and I think a lot of it has to do with the Chaplain Basic and other programs. So but there is a lot of good projects that are, being looked at. I think, the next meeting we're gonna have, I think we're gonna start looking at modeling and see where the modeling's coming in from, and then we're gonna start, pretty much going through projects and prioritizing projects, so we are making some big wins.
And if it's all right with y'all, I'd love to stay in touch, after you have meetings, we can get updates.
Absolutely.
Because we have regular meetings with CPRA on the other end.
Right, yeah, I know y'all had a meeting about a month ago, y'all had a meeting.
And with the Army Corps as well, there's some things that they defer to the Army Corps, and we can kind of handle from that angle.
There is a project, I'll tell you this, but you're managing it, there's a project, and the Army Corps engineer sits on this committee with us and stuff, that would reconnect the river back into the basin on the northern end, around the rim areas, so that would be, and it would be used for low water conditions, so we would, but I have issues with it, and I have concerns about it, because my concern would be what kind of sand traps we can create there, because we'd be allowing a lot of water to come in. And it'd be a good idea to keep the water moving, keep it fresh, but we just can't have that kind of water right now. One of the projects we can leave in the school reaction, what do we do to make sure that we don't get this settlement? That would be a good project, reconnecting the river back the way, in low water conditions, to keep the water moving, but you gotta be able to pass it, you can't pass it.
Okay, and I'd like to get more information about that project from you.
Okay.
Do research after you mentioned it, but I'd love the information you have for about it.
Sounds good,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Item 4, consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing parish president Pete Delphin to execute change order number 1 in the amount of $94,814 decrease for the Boxcar Road roadside stabilization and road repairs project by Diverse Solutions LLC.
Mr. Delphin?
We were able to find, additional material and do a change order, which this is, a reduction of price. So we were able to find, material of the same standard that was in the specifications. It was approved, and therefore we're looking at a $94,000 decrease in our budget with the Boxcar Road project. As we speak, the material is ordered, and we're probably looking at a couple of 3 weeks before that arrives. And once it arrives, we have everything lined up to begin the project.
Item 5, consider the adoption of a resolution to the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development indicating highway construction priorities for the fiscal year 2026-2027.
Basically, we have some projects in your district that you'd like to submit for road projects instead of just getting the detail of to build out right now, currently, so if you're a mission, she'll work with these projects to where we can get some of this. On this scale. And I think this list will be compiled together and I think you're gonna present this list.
Yes.
Annually. Thank you.
Item 6, consider the adoption of a resolution approving the annual certification of compliance for the off-system bridge replacement program 2024-2025.
This is something we're doing anyway.
Item 7, completed constituents work orders per request forms for August 2025 were emailed.
This meeting is adjourned. St. Martin Parish Council Administrative Finance Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 16, 2025, at 5:27 in Mount Hope North.
Item 1, Charles Chitmire, CPA, Myrie and Myrie, to present the review of the fiscal year 2024 annual audit for St. Martin Parish government.
Mr. Murray?
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I understand you all have a digital copy of the financial report, so what I'll just do is, normally I'll break it down into two segments. First, we go over the audit opinions. And pages 1 to 4 is your general audit opinion, and it's an unmodified opinion which states that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, but only as to the funds that you present in your financial statements. As we've discussed before, there are 4 or 5 parish entities that are considered to be component units of the St. Martin Parish government, such as the Hospital Service District, your Waterworks District 3 and 4, your Water and Sewer Commission number 1, and I think your Recreation District number 1. To be able to express an opinion on the parish-wide government without having it state that it's an unmodified opinion, they would all have to be included in your financial statements, and you know, they're each their little kingdom, they present their own financial statements. So this is really considered a clean opinion on the funds that you present. So your general audit opinion is unmodified. You also have opinions on internal control and compliance, and your internal control and compliance over major federal programs, which are on pages 94 through 98. And there are no control or compliance findings related to those. Your final report is an agreed upon procedures report, which the Legislative Auditor's Office has prescribed certain agreed upon procedures, which they're trying to institute best practices in accounting and controls. And these would represent findings that are not severe enough to be a significant deficiency or a material weakness to be mentioned in your general audit reports. What they want to do is foster increased compliance with best practices. And you do have 2 findings there. They both relate to timeliness. One is preparation of a bank reconciliation. The other one is a deposit of cash receipts, which was not done within 1 day, which best practices recommend they be made the same day. But those are not severe, significant findings, and the response to them, administration has made the response that we'll double down on our efforts to do better, ensure that we do this in a timely manner. So essentially, it's a pretty clean report, opinion-wise. Now, what I tell people, just because your report is clean, opinion-wise, doesn't mean it's a good report. You have some agencies and entities that may be in severe financial distress. They could still get a clean audit opinion. The opinion just tells you that your statements are presented fairly. But when you look at the statements and say, "Well, if this is fairly presented, y'all are not doing too well." That's not the case with the St. Martin Parish government, however. If you take a look at your fund balances and your major revenue sources, the General Financial Officers Association recommends that your fund balances should be able to cover from 60 to 90 days of operating expenditures in the event you have an interruption because of a catastrophe, a natural disaster, a plague, or whatever. They recommend 60 to 90 days. All of the St. Martin Parish government's general and special revenue funds have a minimum of 60 to 90 days. Some of them have in excess of a year, some of them 2 years. So all of your fund balances are quite sufficient to meet that criteria. Also, if you look at your revenue sources, I was comparing your ad valorem tax revenues for your general fund and all special revenue funds in relation to the general rate of inflation. The rate of inflation always worries me because if inflation is 20% and you have a 20% increase in revenues, you didn't gain any ground. But our federal government over the last couple of years has managed to get inflation somewhat under control. In 2024, the annual rate of inflation was 2.95%. But your ad valorem taxes, this was a reassessment year, and you did have a rollback slightly on some of your villages. They still increased by 7.9%, so well in excess of the rate of inflation. Your sales tax revenues jumped up by about 8.3%, from 6.6 million to 7.1 million. And that's, both of those are because of economic growth. And with sales taxes, it's also because of, more and more people shop online and not run to Lafayette to get everything, or run to New Iberia. You end up having some of your smaller municipalities and other public entities lose some of those sales tax dollars. But when people shop online more, the Amazon is pretty good at tracking down your physical address and making sure that those sales taxes go directly to that entity, whether it's the parish government, the city of Grove Ridge, or wherever that person resides. So all of those things coupled together have really boosted your sales tax revenues and also your ad valorem tax revenues. The only item of concern, I'll laugh about this, your video poker revenues have slipped a little bit. They've gone down about 120,000. And I don't know what the reason for that is. Maybe more people are doing sports betting. Your sports betting, they stay relatively flat. Or maybe, human nature being what it is, people just don't gamble as much anymore. It's restoring my faith in human nature a little bit, I don't know. But it's pretty flat, from 2.13 million to 2.12 million. So, video poker revenues are stable. So, if you look at your financial reports, your fund balances have gone up by 6.4 million. And the revenue sources are on the uptick, which that's what allows you to do the job of providing the parish with, public works and public facilities. So as long as the revenue picture is bright and on the uptick, I think it's a very good report for 2024. And if inflation stays low, if interest rates come down a little, it would be a perfect world. The report looks good for 2024, and if anybody has any specific questions, if you represent the Cade area, they have their own separate sales tax. If you have any specific questions about certain funds, like sales tax number 2 or whatever, I'd be happy to answer it at your leisure if you contact me and give me time to look it up and do some research.
Is there any way to share that tax?
Next.
Sales tax number 2 is one of the funds that really has a
Yeah.
surplus.
Ms. Martin, do you, two things that you talked about, I know with COVID, when we were going through COVID, we kept waiting and waiting to see if we have a downfall, and we never did. Do you think maybe with our, because I know it was said that a lot, that our revenues in video poker had kind of went after the COVID, because more people were working, they were playing a little bit more with the poker machine. So maybe that might be kind of why we might have, more people went back to work.
Yeah, that could be why, and maybe, I don't know what, sometimes it's just the areas around, Lafayette and Iberia don't have video poker, but St. Landry does.
Yeah.
And St. Landry's kind of developing and encroaching closer and closer to our parish line. Maybe they're attracting some of our gamblers there, I don't know. It's hard to tell with gambling. It's an irrational activity as it is.
And then with the internet sales tax and stuff, that was about a few years back in the session where we started collecting that, so
Yeah,
I think that was more because.
I think that's helped. People don't shop the brick and concrete stores as much. I know, if I look at my wife and my daughter and my family, I always tease my wife that, if we're gone for a couple of days over the weekend, when we get back, this package is stacked at the door. She does a lot of internet shopping. I imagine everyone else does. And that helps assign the sales tax to the correct entity by your physical address.
And that made a big difference, that helped us out. Any questions from council? Thank you, Mr. Marbury, we appreciate it. Good news.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Item 2, consider the adoption of a resolution engaging in services of Myrie & Murray Certified Public Accountants to conduct the annual audit for the year 2025 for St. Martin Parish. Item 3, Jennifer Stelly, SMETA, Executive Director, to discuss the request of excursions for an industrial tax exemption.
Ms. Deb?
Good evening. I'm here before you today with another ITEP, problem with one of our companies here. Just want to give a little kind of backstory on this company before I get into what the issues are. We broke ground on Aquaspersions in, I think it was November of 2022. They filed their advanced notification with the state for an industrial tax exemption then. They were operational in the summer of 2023, so they've been in operation for 2 years now. When we started working with this company, they're out of England. This is their first location in the United States, so it's foreign investment. It's the onshoring of jobs that, right now, before they were getting their chemicals from China. So this was a really good project for us. It checked a lot of boxes. What they do is they make chemicals that Safe Source uses in their nitrile glove manufacturing process. It makes them stretchy without breaking. Safe Source recruited them from England to open a location directly across the street from them, so they could supply directly and kind of bypass, shipment from overseas. So they became operational in the summer of 2023. They filed their advanced notification with the state. I was working with their CFO, whose name is Debbie Jones. She had a family emergency and had to resign from her position. What happened then was they hired somebody new and the deadline was missed. Once the project is complete, the company has to then actually fill out the application. It's kind of backwards. When the project's done, you fill out the application. They missed that deadline because of this turnover in employees. So the state LED, the program is administered through LED. They're very strict with their deadlines. So they took the industrial tax exemption away from them. Aquaspersions went to the state, led their case, said, is there anything we can do to try to get this back? Because when they looked at their numbers and decided to build here in the United States, this tax exemption was a big part of their bottom line. And just to kind of refresh your memory, it's an 80% abatement on all ad valorem taxes. Not on the property, but on machinery and equipment and building materials. So, the state called me, their legal counsel called me and said, hey, can this parish do a payment in lieu of taxes as opposed to the ITEP that they lost? And at the time, we could not do that. We weren't equipped to do that. So I said no. And then the state just kind of shrugged and said, that's all we can do. So Aquaspersions called me, and in the middle of all this, we had a new administration come in. Governor Landry came in. He brought in a whole new administration at Louisiana Economic Development. This administration is a lot more open-minded to working. They like to say yes. They don't like to say no, sorry. So we kind of got a game plan together. They said they were gonna introduce a resolution before the Board of Commerce and Industry. All the ITEP applications have to be approved before the Board of Commerce and Industry, which is a state-appointed board, before they even reach the locals. They're gonna introduce a resolution before the Board of Commerce and Industry that would give the LED secretary ultimate veto power and the governor ultimate veto power on any of these incentive decisions. It's never been done before, and they weren't even sure the board was gonna approve it, but they did back in April or May. So that kind of opens the door for us to work with Aquaspersions on getting their ITEP reinstated. They have to go before the Board of Commerce and Industry on October 22nd for the board to either kind of give a thumbs up or thumbs down. If they give a thumbs up, it will go back to the LED secretary. She'll make kind of final approval whether or not, yes, they'll get reinstated back into the program, or no, sorry, we've done everything we can, you're gonna have to pay the full tax bill. So what we're asking for from y'all is just kind of supplementary information. That the Board of Commerce and Industry reached out and they want to know if the parishes, if they wouldn't have missed the deadlines, if the parish would have been okay with this tax exemption. Just so they know for their sake when they make their decision, what the parish's decision is. I said this before in front of y'all, we've never turned down an industrial tax exemption that's come before us. We've been very, very pro-business, pro-jobs. So I told them I don't think it would be an issue, but they're still asking for that supplementary information in writing. So that's kind of what we're asking for is, a resolution from you guys stating not that you approve the tax exemption, but, and I met with Lee, this week to kind of work on that wording of what that resolution is gonna look like, but if they wouldn't have missed their deadline, that the council would have been in favor of it. So I know it's kind of long and complicated, if you got any questions?
I do. So, when Civic Source closing the doors, how much does that affect this business?
It affects me greatly. That kind of adds a whole new, desperation layer to this whole process, because whenever they miss their deadline, Safe Stores was still open.
Right.
Now that Safe Stores has closed, or will close in the next month or so, that's their main customer. Now, they still have customers in the United States that they sell to, but the majority of their business is going away.
So I know like for the tax exemption, there's certain things that, guidelines have to be like workforce and stuff like that. Is that still in place, and can they still meet those requirements?
It is in place for this one. Last time I talked to y'all, I kind of updated y'all on the changes that the governor made to the program.
Right.
The new way, jobs, the projects are not tied to jobs anymore. This project is because it was filed under the old rules. So, they committed to 20 jobs, $7.5 million investment with 20 jobs. They're not at that job mark. They're probably maybe half. They're halfway there. They were up to that point, but with everything that's happened, they've kind of dwindled down. And that's something that the Board of Commerce and Industry is gonna look at. You know, they're gonna look at, you committed to 20 jobs, you have 8. Are you gonna be able to meet that 25 if we give you the exemption?
But we're not focusing on it, they can maybe 25. We are focusing only that, the question is at hand, is if they would not have the change in job, people would have been okay with it at the time. Which
Exactly.
we were at the time, because, you know, it was great. I'm just asking this question just to know,
Yeah.
I'm just, for future, do you think this company can survive? You know, because we don't basically make the decision anymore with the government.
No, on the new applications, we really don't have a say so. We have a committee now that meets, from all the taxing bodies, and we give a suggestion, but the governor doesn't have to follow that suggestion anymore.
Right.
Now, as far as whether this company can make it if we give them an exemption, I don't know, but I would like to give them an opportunity to make it and kind of mitigate the risk of losing any more jobs than we already have in that area.
Right. It's kind of on this subject, maybe, but it kind of involves Civic Source, or is it over, is it done? Is there a chance it can come back?
They have, a little bit of hope. They're going after some, major contracts that, if they do come to fruition, they will be able to remain open, not at full scale, but at, partial scale. They will know if that's gonna happen, I wanna say in the next couple of weeks or so.
So depending what happens there, could influence some of
Yes.
the decision we make on this.
If these contracts don't come through, they issued a 60-day warn notice to, I wanna say 540 employees. They have 191 that they retain for the time being. If these contracts don't come through, they told me that they will issue another 60-day warn notice for those 191 employees. And that will, effectively shut them down at the end of October.
Okay.
So,
Any questions from council? Ms. Robles?
So basically, in essence, we just looking for a resolution to say that we would, consider, the exemption, so that way they can go in front of the board, so that way they can determine whether they would reinstate their application.
Pretty much, but I would add to that, that the parish would have been favorable.
Right.
towards- Yeah, towards the,
Okay.
And I just want to tack on to about the safe source thing. We have been we're partnering with the Louisiana Workforce Commission, the city of Broussard, and LIDA on, finding these displaced workers jobs as soon as we can. We actually have a job fair only for the displaced safe source employees next week. So if y'all have any businesses in your districts that are hiring right now, that might be interested in participating in that, or, you know, having employees come in and do, applications, please let me know, and I can reach out to them and maybe get them to participate in this job fair, so we can get some employees, some new jobs. Cause, that's a lot of jobs to backfill.
So, how, did you ever, I remember you had spoke about this before, did we ever come up with a number about how much it affected
No, they
residents of St. Mark Parish?
They never got me that, but I'll
I
get
was
it.
just wondering.
Yeah.
Mr. Corbett, you have a question?
Have you ever looked at, I mean, like, okay, if a business comes up to you and they want to come and St. Mark Parish, and they ask about an ITIP, do you have like a set of parameters you look at to say, is there enough upside of us giving them the tax deduction for what they're gonna bring to, is there a formula, I guess?
Yeah, so, under the old rules, you had to commit to jobs, and we would always look at, you know, we're not gonna give a $10 million ITEP if you create 2 jobs, you know? So the jobs piece is always gonna be a part of it, I think, even though the state doesn't hold that as a requirement anymore. I think, whenever the new rules came out in 2018, around 2019, the council actually adopted a set of guidelines that they would look at when it came to these ITEP, considerations. And I have a copy of that, I don't have it with me, but I can get that to you. But jobs was always,
I mean, okay, thank you.
Mr. Dillon?
I'd just like to, in summation, if you don't mind, they were a week away from filing this thing, so they were a week late. Had they filed it, it would have been passed. I mean, all the boxes were checked. Now, as we sit here today, if they don't get the tax break, they will shut down. I mean, it's that severe. If they do get the tax break, they have life. Now, basically what this resolution is gonna do, to put an analogy, it's like a letter of recommendation. We're saying, yes, we're in favor of it, yes, we'd like it to continue, we'd like the company to stay. Even without the safe source, there are other industries in the United States that use this chemical, so there's a good chance that they can survive, you know, so, I would think that it's a letter of recommendation, it does not put us into any type of position, it's just a tax break. And basically, let's say from 10 to 20 individuals, we're losing a number of individuals due to the safe stores closing. So I think we need to do everything in our power to mitigate any other closings with this or anything else that may be involved. So.
and just to add, I did have a meeting with, Superintendent Fred Wilkes and their CFO Casey Broussard at the school board, and they're, on board as well. And they're gonna present the same type of resolution to the school board for them to adopt.
So the resolution would be done by parish government, sheriff's office, and school board?
Sheriff's office just needs to write a letter.
Write a letter of
Yeah, but, from y'all and the school board, it needs to be some type of resolution.
And it would be on the council's best behalf to support this business that came here and invested the money and all, just because of a simple mistake. We, you know, if they're, like Mr. Dillon said, if they are salvageable, and we can get this company up and running, it does bring tax revenue dollars and create jobs in this parish. So I would like the council to consider, you know, supporting this with a resolution to try to help these people. It would be a good gesture on our part. I think we should something that we obligated to do.
We need to do it at the next meeting, as I think it's, third week in October. So, you know, we need to expedite and make sure that we take care of it accordingly.
We can have, we should be able to get, we
Yeah.
get together for that resolution together.
Well, Ms. Sally actually put a wonderful one together. I just came in and just with some of the safeguards, you know, we would approve it, provided they met the requirements set out in the old rules. So it's pretty much finished. Y'all see it. It will be on the agenda for the October regular meeting.
Thank you.
And we hope that if it passes, that St. Mark Parish will be the guide moving forward on this situation.
Yeah, we're the guinea pigs for
We're the
this
guinea
whole
pigs,
new
yeah.
process, which
So
I'm
we'll
not
make sure we
crazy
do it.
about, but if we're successful with it, it'll be good for us. Awesome.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Item 4, consider the adoption of an ordinance amending the St. Martin Parish government pay scale.
Mr. Delvin?
Yes, the pay scale as it was, there were 3 steps, 3 of the lowest steps in the pay scale that were for lack of a better word, obsolete, in that we had no employees that were in those ranges. Basically, that would have been, other industry employees coming in at minimum wage and a little bit above that. And we don't, with what we do, with all the employees that we have, nobody was in those ranges. So this is basically to clean up this, the pay scales. There was some internal movement that had to be done, but basically, nobody got a raise according to this. This is just an adjustment of the schedule. And in a nutshell, the three lower stages were deleted. If that's a correct definition of what we had done.
So the only change made was the low part of the space.
It was just a deletion of the three lower stages because we had nobody in those, and it just cleaned up the chart. Yes, sir.
Any questions from the council?
Item 5, consider the adoption of a resolution selecting and authorizing the submission of the state capital outlay budget request for the year 2026-2027.
So that we had talked about it a while back, so if you have a project in your district, and it doesn't have to be state road, if you have any project that you think is of importance or something that would qualify for capital outlay funding, if, and it doesn't mean that we're gonna get it, but we can put it together, then with Ms. Chantel, she'll be putting it together and stuff. And we're gonna present it in the package that the council's gonna approve, and, Vice President will make a recommendation on it, and we'll send it to the emergency, we can get additional funding, so. Anything that we in the district that you think, but try to think of things that would benefit, like, multiple areas, or just more than just our one district. So, wherever we come up, we just put it together, we'll look at it, and we'll go through it and see what we have.
What's the deadline,
Yeah, pretty much, I mean.
Well, memory serves me, the last meeting I requested, I've been in contact with Mr. Richard Minville. I'm hoping within the next week to 2 weeks. Now, the only thing with these capital outlay projects, we need to have some documentation that explains what's going on. If it's construction projects, they need to be able to see what we're talking about, what we're requesting with some validity to the project. So, put your thoughts, start putting this together. We need to get something to Mr. Minville within the next week to 2 weeks, as it has to be totally submitted by November 1st.
Mr. Devlin, just a suggestion, maybe what we can do is if we work on it, each council member try to work on it, if you can get it done before, like in the next week or so, try to get it before our next meeting. Maybe we can sit down with a few council members and the administration, kind of go through, we look at them and see which ones, we think are high importance, that we can try to prioritize how we can put them on.
It's fine.
If you find what you want.
Yeah.
Alright, so if we try to get to it as soon as y'all can, if you have something, just get it with Ms. Chantel, and she'll take care of it from there, and then we'll try to meet with the administration to go through.
Item 6, consider the adoption of a resolution proclaiming Monday, November 11th, 2025 as Veterans Day.
Is this something that we do annually?
Item 7, Parish President's Report.
Okay, before you, you have the different construction projects that are currently in view. Cypress Bayou, Coulee LaSalle is basically Cypress Bayou. It is in the process of being reviewed. The money's there and so forth, so it's just a matter of getting it reviewed and submitted to start the project. Alcide Bonnet, we're still waiting on the Corps of Engineers. Petroleum Parkway, they are presently in there doing surveys and so forth on the drainage. The drainage is the first part of the project. Once the drainage has been completed, we will be going into the next stage and actually doing the construction of the road itself. Spanish Trail Industrial Park, the change orders have been approved. This is on the gates that fall across the tracks. So we're looking at starting that in the very near future. Joe Day Canal, we're meeting with the engineers, we met with them, everything's been submitted. That should be a go in the very near future. Boxcar Road, as I said, we had a change order of a decrease of materials. waiting for the materials to come in to where we can start that project, hopefully within the next couple of 3 weeks. During also, we did the engineering report, and that's pending. Sales tax 1, road improvements, engineering in progress. Elise Drive, Bro Bridge did do their, they did accept and in the process of resolution. So we're waiting. We do have the intergovernmental agreement. Mr. Lee has completed, so we should be getting that signed within the next week and get that project started. Embassy control structure, we had a meeting this morning, a pre-construction meeting. We actually went out to the control structure. They will be starting this project at the end of this week. The water is good. You can see everything is exposed. It's pretty severe. It's pretty severe, but we feel confident that we should be able to, if not complete, get a large portion of that control structure done with this session here. Delcom Road, they have completed the pilings. We're hoping that within the next 2 to 3 weeks that we can get this project completed and we can open up that road again. Water consolidation, Mr. Lee Durio and the BO companies, in premise, everything is approved. They're just going through the nuts and bolts of the legal process, and I'm hoping within the very near future, a week to 2 weeks, we'll be signing a lease agreement on that. Catahoula, Highway 96 covered. We were out there this week with DOTD. At the left, the Baton Rouge has put a little pressure to try and expedite this thing. We're still a couple of 3 months away, and basically it's going to, there will be a temporary road around that culvert will be taken out, big box culvert put in, and really the temporary road will not be able to substantiate cane trucks or large 18-wheelers or anything along those lines. So it would really be best if that portion of the project doesn't start for another couple of 3 months, and I think that's gonna happen. And I have here listed capital outlay, we've already discussed that. If y'all can get your list together ASAP and get that to me, and we can have discussion whether, whatever numbers need to come in and so forth, let's do that so that we can get it to Mr. Minville, so that we can get that tucked away in prior to November 1st. That's all I have.
Mr. Corville?
Mr. Delcom, are there any, as far as our sales tax #1 road improvements, is there like just a holdup with engineering or just all pretty typical? It seems like they've been engineering for quite a while.
It's typical. I mean, we gave that to them. The actual number, I think we have 17 roads. So when the engineering is complete, they give a package.
Right.
And then from that, we determine, we have some, not that we can tell the contractor what to do or when to do it, but with the sugarcane season, we do, express our desires to start in certain areas, and they normally do because they don't want to get caught up in the sugarcane season either. But it's normal, it's right there, and as soon as we get all the engineering in hand, we'll be beginning those projects.
Okay.
So once these projects get started together, we will start looking at next year's projects, we'll start moving on those engineering.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Louvier?
Mr. Delcom, I just have
Sure. One question, that kind of code, is that, putting that whole Catahoula Slope project on hold until that call is done?
Yeah, basically, if you remember, we had done the Catahoula Slope. We were trying to do a change order to do the northern side of it. That was going, we were gonna wait until the culvert was changed out. We made a tentative or verbal promise to DOTD that we would be changing out and completing that portion of the Catahoula Slope. The culverts going to the south to where, you know, that was one of the things, DOTD said, well, look, we'll change this culvert out, but y'all need to complete the project that y'all had begun a few years ago and get those culverts brought up to speed. And, so we will be, once this is in play and this is taken care of, this would be one of the other, it's been budgeted, we have the money within our drainage bond to take care of the continuation and completion of that project.
All the engineering was done on that portion of that Catahoula, the Cooley, thing, that's all.
We were just waiting for this, not to complicate things, we're waiting for this to be completed, and then once that's done, we can then, so 2026, we should be able to get into and complete that project.
Any other questions from council?
Item 8, reports, statements, and revenues of expenditures and balance sheet for August 2025 or email.
This meeting is adjourned.
Building 150. Just go in the front and out the front. But, Well, the deal is that, well, we have to be able to think and take into consideration, the max. We come up with 25%. That building per se is probably, I would say conservatively gonna. I have nothing from that. You're looking at.
Because I remember, I think the one that,
Well, I went and measured the guy for the Catahoula facility.
I think if we piggyback.
Kind of, yeah, this is the one we need with the little Francis and the Catahoula, just like that. That's, you know, right at 3,700 feet. You know, 350 to $400 a square, that's right at 1.5. So I'm just using that as an example. If you do something like that, you're getting that. Don't think about it. You gotta come up with a third, so you have to put $400,000. It's just a matter of, and when you go into the capital outlay, you gotta make sure